I always like when we walk dogs in like big groups.
Yes.
Because everyone's like, who's that?
Got the squad.
We're Miracle Canine Training. We train dogs.
All right, guys, we got Pete out here. So it's been a little while since we've done a bunch of socialization for the vlog specifically. So what I want to do is today we're going to go through a handful of different dogs that we have in for boarding or board and train and stuff right now. We're just going to go through some of the process of socializing them. So first guy out right now we have here is Pete. So Pete is, I believe, about 2 years old. He did training with us when he was way younger. I mean, I think he was like 6 months old or something like that. And at 6 months old, he was a little bit of a pain in the ass. Somewhat social, very pushy with other dogs, a lot of just miscellaneous issues with like resource guarding and things like that, right? He's kind of a fearful Corso, which is unfortunately very common to the breed of what we've been seeing lately. So I want to get him socialized a little bit. It's been a long time since we've seen him. He's back in for boarding with us right now. So we're going to do a nice slow introduction to another dog, and we're going to kind of see how it goes. Okay, guys, as always, when we're at our facility, we have the luxury of being able to do a nice, slow introduction here, right? So what I like to do is first and foremost get my dog, whoever it is that I'm going to be socializing, that I don't particularly know that well, or the one I'm unsure about, I should say, because Adalbert here, he's a very social dog. Pete, it's been a while since I've seen him, so we don't exactly know what he's going to do. And I let the initial dog just kind of get their bearings in whatever the environment is that we want to socialize them in. I think it's really important to realize that it is generally counterproductive to socialize your dog with more than one type of socialization at once. Let me explain that, right? So socialization, there are three things you could socialize your dog to, right? So you could socialize your dog to other dogs, you could socialize your dog to other people, and you could socialize your dog to new environments. And generally speaking, we don't ever want to do two new ones of those at the same time, meaning I wouldn't socialize my dog with a new person and a new dog at once. I wouldn't socialize my dog with a new dog and a new environment at the same time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to get my dog acclimated to the environment first. In this case, Pete is obviously comfortable here. He's been here before. He's been boarding with us for a couple days now. And additionally, we have him in this yard. And he's gotten all of his exploring out of the way, right? He's not super intrigued with something else where this dog's going to come barreling in and interrupt him getting his bearings of the new place, right? From there, bring out the dog that we determine is going to be a good fit. In this case, we got a nice big dog, kind of hold his own. Obviously, since Pete is a dog that can kind of throw his body weight around and stuff like that, we want to make sure we have a dog that can kind of take that and that he can't really bully him around a whole lot. And then I let him kind of do their thing through the fence. And I got both of their e-collars on. I have both of their e-collars set all the way up just in case. And we just kind of let him do this for a little bit. And right now, obviously, you see Pete's kind of getting his bearings over there. Adalbert is kind of hanging out. Neither of them seem very interested, nor do they seem very concerned with each other. So we'll let this kind of ride out for a minute. And then what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start the introduction process of actually putting them together. All right, let's give it a go. So obviously as I take away the barrier, they're not super interested in each other still. Adalbert is a very neutral dog, so he's not going to do a whole lot of engaging initially. And Pete is probably trying to figure out what the heck is going on. So all I want to do is just really, really closely monitor this situation until I get a read for the degree of sociability that he's currently at, since it's been a little while since I've seen him. A lot of people ask me all the time, like, you know, how are we supposed to socialize our dog? You know, how are we supposed to do a leash? How do we keep everything safe? This and that. To which I always answer, you got to do it off of the leash, right? If you're really that concerned that your dog is going to go after another dog or bite another dog or whatever it may be, you got to use a muzzle, obviously. That way you can keep all parties involved. But I need for these dogs to be able to move around freely and create distance if they want to, or go towards each other if they want to, and not feel restricted by that leash holding them back constantly. Obviously, we have e-collars on. Like I said, they're both set up very high right now. I have them actually set all the way up, just in case if there's something I needed to step in and intervene and correct for. You see Pete's getting a little curious. He's kind of approaching that area, then checking back in with me, kind of letting me know that he's a little bit unsure. Adalbert hasn't quite crossed the threshold yet, and some of that could be out of respect for Pete. Pete was in this area first, and he doesn't necessarily know, am I allowed to go in there? What should I do? He doesn't want to be too intrusive, so just got to let this kind of work itself out here. Same deal, see at the threshold, just kind of trying to figure it out here. Making his move in, little sniffing. And this is where we just want to watch it very, very closely. Pete's a little nervous. No. Now, generally, I try to let the dogs figure out all of this stuff on their own without me micromanaging or intervening too much. That being said, any just unwanted behaviors in general, unrelated to the social, we will always still correct for. So right there, he went over and started scratching at the door. Some of that could have been from he's unsure about the other dog. He wants to get back inside to his kennel where he's going to feel a little bit more safe. And he feels like because of, again, his size, he can kind of push himself around and accomplish those types of things. I want him to realize those are off the table still and that I am in charge of all of the decisions right now. Very, very important step to make sure we keep everybody safe and everybody respectful of the handler that is monitoring the situation. And sometimes the first couple times socializing again are pretty uneventful like this, especially if there are some things you need to correct for. The dogs kind of get a little bit more reserved with things and are like, you know what, we're just gonna kind of behave ourselves, be neutral, and stay respectful of the person that's watching things right now. And they kind of just hang out and coexist, and that's fine. They'll come out of their shell later on, obviously, as they get more comfortable with some of this stuff. A lot of people kind of look at, like, if the dogs aren't actively playing with each other, that it's a failed social, where that's the exact opposite of what I look at. I don't need playing all the time. I need to make sure that I can get these dogs around other dogs, and if anything, have them just not even concerned about the other dog. So we got a little bit of interacting again here. Obviously both of them over by the fence. Anytime you start getting near thresholds and stuff, I'm not going to change anything. I'm not going to call them away from it or anything like that. It is generally a higher pressure situation, especially if dogs have an association of trying to really get through that threshold. Sometimes all that pressure and emotion they're feeling there while another dog is in their space can create a problem with certain dogs. So just want to keep an eye on it. Okay, so even though they aren't interacting with each other yet, if you look around, look at him for a minute over there. You see how they're loose, right? They're neutral to each other. They don't have very much interest in each other. That's probably because they're still a little unsure. But because they're off of the leash and we're not forcing interactions right now, they're realizing I could just go do something else. He's sniffing around, he's checking things out. Adalbert was moving around, didn't feel uncomfortable in the space anymore. He's going and marking on stuff, things like that. Again, this is a massive success right now of getting past the insecurities of, I don't know what's going on with you, but that's okay, I can go do this, right? So, you know, as you're looking at socialization and stuff, just be aware of this kind of stuff. Okay, so next up we got Scout here. Scout just got dropped off for a board and train 4 days ago, something like that. And Scout is here for all sorts of issues, resource guarding, some biting on his owners, very anxious guy, very fearful guy. He lives with another dog, I'm pretty sure, but hit or miss as far as his relationship with the other dog, right? So sometimes he'll get a little guardy over stuff. He has shown some aggression towards other dogs in the past. It hasn't been anything like unbelievably major or anything. But he's definitely pretty fearful of dogs. We have seen some reactivity just through his crate towards other dogs, things like that. So we're gonna go through the exact same process here with him, and we're gonna show you how we go about introducing him to another dog. So let me go ahead and grab someone, we'll see what we get. All right, so same exact process here to start. We are gonna be doing just some basic introduction stuff. We're starting off through the fence. We got these two guys over here, and we'll see what we get. So Scout, because he just started his program, has not started any e-collar yet, so we're not going to be using the e-collar as our primary form of correcting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have him dragging a line. So it's not that the on-leash greetings are so bad from the literal standpoint of like the dog can't have a leash clipped to them. It's the concept that when they're on the leash, they're generally being restrained, right? So what we're going to do is we are going to have him drag a leash, which will allow him to be able to move freely as if he were off of the leash. And then additionally, what I could do is if I need to deliver any sort of correction, I could do it using the leash, or I could at least grab that leash to contain the situation if there's a problem. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna open this real quick, and then we're gonna let them inside. So let's just see what we get right here first. So I wanna see this. Again, I'm assessing if there's gonna be any sort of problem. Actually, no, grab the umbrella. Can you grab the umbrella in there, please? Yeah. Thank you, thank you.
Multitasking.
That's a pretty sweet one, actually. Here you go, Paige. Look at this dog's like, what the hell is that? Why don't you walk in there, Sonny? No. Again, any unwanted behaviors, like jumping, we want to make sure we're correcting for right away. Now, he's not even on a training collar or anything right now. It's just a flat collar, so you can see how sensitive he is to correction, right? You don't need fancy training tools in a lot of cases with this kind of stuff. The idea is that we're simply attaching some sort of unwanted consequence to a behavior that we don't want. In this case, it was jumping, obviously. And like we talked about in the case of socializing Pete, this goes a long way from the standpoint of we're getting him out of this state of mind of, oh, just do whatever you want to do. These people aren't here for any reason in particular. These dogs aren't here for any reason in particular. To getting him into a state of mind of, oh, there's rules. There is somebody that's a little bit higher than me that's in charge of things, which should get him into a state of mind of not feeling like he needs to react and guard himself or people in general from the other dogs that are out. So that's my bro. That dog is a psycho. Yeah. Good. Said I'd like to be friends with everybody, please. There we go. I'm getting ready to jump for that leash. So obviously boundary setting in the shape of a little bit of growling, stuff like that, when another dog is approaching space, I don't have a problem with that, right? So I did correct for a growl out there, but that was because this dog was seeking out the conflict, right? This dog went up to the fence and growled, right? So I don't want that, obviously. But if the other dogs are getting in his space and he lets out a grumble and then creates distance like he did right there, that's exactly the choice we want him to make. So I have no problem with that. And if anything, we need some dogs to kind of push him out of his shell a little bit like that. So keeping an eye on it. Unsure, but reciprocating a little sniffing. So again, getting back to like what I just said, this dog needs dogs to push him out of his shell, just like that, just little by little, right? Went in a little too hot the first time. Scout obviously corrected him for it. Second time, Bibble went up much, much more respectfully, which is what helped get the reciprocating sniffing and stuff there. You see he's kind of moving around, he's sniffing a little bit more now. That's what they need, is they gotta realize they can move around, they can express themselves a little bit, and that's what will ultimately start to build some confidence. Again, getting some exploring. And it's cool because we gave, a couple corrections early on, and then for the last 10 minutes or so that we've been doing this, you can keep the camera on him, just so you see. You can tell he was a little shut down from them, obviously, but because we let him work through that, you can see he's coming back out of his shell, and we have the luxury of having some of those unwanted behaviors just taken off of the table altogether. Here we go. So keeping an eye on this, obviously. See, getting much more curious. You letting him out? Oh. I can't tell the difference. So got a little bit of growling right there still again. You can tell he's getting curious, but there's kind of a lot going on, right? We've got a lot of dogs out right now, a lot of motion, a lot of playing and stuff that can be a little overwhelming for dogs. So we tend to see them kind of come in and out of that like playful state where they're like intrigued, they want to play, then too much starts happening, and they want to give themselves a little bit of space again, and they come in and out until they ultimately get comfortable enough to start playing on their own. And that's what we're seeing right now with that process. See ya.
Oh, it's just you, Michael. Good job, buddy. That was really nice. Okay. Good. And with these commands, when we start working longer distances like this, if he were to step off of the bed, I'll mark with my no, then tap my button, even when I'm further away. But before I repeat the command to basically restart, it's okay to walk back over to him, collect him, take him back, and restart from there. So the timing, really the most important thing timing-wise, is making sure you say your no at the right time. Then it's okay if it takes you a second or two to hit your button and walk back over there and reset him. No. Wesley, bed? No. Bed? Thought about it. Good. Nice job, bud. Okay. And when we go back and pick up our leash, I'll typically make a point to wait a couple seconds before the release because they'll start to conflate picking up the leash with being released at that point. Wes, bed? Oh, pretty impressive. Good job, buddy. I know. Good boy. You're so expressive. Yeah, you're really expressive. Okay. Do you want to get it? Oh, do you want to play with it? Oh, how fun. That's such a good job. Bed. Because he likes toys so much, you can do stuff like this too. It's good to do a little combination of like sometimes without toys, sometimes with, but okay, come on. Good job. Get it. Get it. Get the toy. Get the toy. Yeah. Good job. Very nice. Good job. Training using like toys and play and stuff can be cool because it also starts to manufacture the ability for them to get like really overstimulated and then calm them down, and then get really, really excited and then calm them down. So it helps them learn how to regulate that a little bit better, even in real life situations. Exactly, yeah. How to have like really high sudden bursts of energy, but manage to keep it under control and stuff like that. Because some dogs, especially like Doodles being a big culprit, as we've all seen, they like get excited and then they just like spiral into the ether and takes them 10 years to come back down. So you'll give your verbal cue first, give him a moment, and then if he doesn't do it or breaks it prematurely, that's when you'll say no, do your tap, and then tell him bed again. Very good. Very nice. Okay. And that was perfect, how you just did a little short distance that time, and then you can slowly increase it. Good. Anytime you're working with him on something, it's good to kind of assess like how much success he's having versus how much, quote, like failure is happening, because if you're finding that your training sessions you're having to do either a lot of helping or a lot of correcting, usually that means that there's some breakdown somewhere where something isn't going right. So either there's a breakdown in the clarity of what we're asking of him and he just doesn't understand what the expectations are, or it could be an environmental thing where maybe there's too much distractions, you're holding him to a standard that's too high for what he's capable of at the point in his training, or things like that. So you always want to at least honestly have like 75 to 80% success as a whole. Yeah, if not, then we need to like lower our expectations somewhere, you know, whether that's we need to go back to, say you were working on this in your yard and he's really struggling and he's breaking that every single time you walk away, then maybe we don't work on distance right now. Maybe we just work on repetition, maybe we work on duration where we stand next to him and just make him stay there for a while. Maybe we work on just distractions and him being able to stay there, period. So there's other ways that you can modify it, where if you find that he's struggling in one area, obviously make note of that, and okay, we have to figure out how to advance on that and make it better. But if he's continuing to have trouble or fail, then we have to adjust something. Because that'll affect his confidence overall too, because if your training sessions with him are just him messing up the whole time, exactly, he's gonna get frustrated, he's not gonna enjoy it. And so you want him to like training as much as you can. There's unavoidably gonna be hard moments, but you want it to be overall a very positive thing for them. Wesley's a very happy guy. We want to keep it that way. He said, I almost forgot they were back there. Yeah, that's fine. Perfect distraction. So you can keep a hold of just the end of his leash. And if he steps off, you'll just do the e-collar correction just the same. Bye, Michael. Very nice, Wes.
No.
There you go. Walk right back over. Very nice. Now walk away again. We'll replay that. The Cheerio's a paid actor. Oh, and I was saying this earlier and then I got sidetracked. When you're working with stationary commands, right now you're kind of incidentally doing it because we're going back to grab the leash, but as he gets better and you're doing this off leash, I do find that...
No. Bed. No.
You can say bed again.
Yes.
Very nice. I do find that it's best to always release once you're back with the dog. Okay. So like, say he's on a bed stay. It's not that it's wrong to release him while you're at a distance, but if you do it a lot, I find that it encourages the dog to almost, the whole time they're on the bed, they're kind of just waiting and anticipating, like, when are you gonna tell me to do something, when am I released? Whereas if we create a pattern for them where they only get released once you actually come all the way back over to them, they're a lot more content to just like hang out, relax, rest, and just wait. Because they're not worried they're missing anything.
Because we've done a lot of stay instead of doing like
Sure.
what we're doing now. Okay, we do a lot of stay and then calm.
Yeah.
So we probably naturally been doing that. So
Yeah.
running.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And that just it just patterns it in, you know? So he's like, every time I'm put somewhere, they walk away, I'm gonna go, you know? So that can be just a pattern that's added in. So we wanna reverse that a little bit and just teach him that if I put you somewhere, you just have to stay there until I come back and then I'll release you. Ultimately, you know, you can do like a sit and then a calm, or a bed and a calm. It's not the end of the world, you just don't wanna do it a lot. He said, if I sit on you, you can't walk away from me. Oh, Michael's back. So you can keep him in his sit. You can just even just stand on your leash if you want, just in case. And just correct if you need to. How was your walk, Michael?
We just went to the lobby.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, because we could hear through the speaker his corrections. I didn't hear a lot though, so he must have been killing it. It was just a sporadic every once in a while, a little beep.
Yes.
Good job, Wes.
Okay.
Hi, this is Sunny with Miracle Canine Training. I'm here with Michelle, Seamus, Ushi, Gracie, and Bandit, and Paige behind the camera. And we're here at Edgewater! Let's go!
Twerking while she was
Gotta get that money. Ushi, come.
Paragliders gone bad.
No, I
No,
hope
not
I
yet.
never do.
I've seen two situations happen. One, the guy was standing here about to take off, and this huge gust of wind came and blew him backwards, and he got stuck in this tree.
Oh my
and
god.
then they had to like take forever to untangle him and get him down.
No, come.
The other one was a similar situation. He was standing there getting ready to take off, and you know how it always draws a crowd?
Yeah,
There's like a crowd of like 20 people behind him. His parachute blew over and covered all of them, and they all started screaming.
No.
And it was just pure chaos.
Come.
I'd freak out.
It was really funny.
My biggest thing is just like, what happens when you fall into the water and you get tangled? That's why I
Ooh.
wouldn't like to do it over this thing.
That's
'Cause
a
that'd
new
freak
fear
me.
unlocked.
Yeah.
If I ever go
There
paragliding.
was a third experience where me and a client got hit with one of the parachutes.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because it was when they got pulled backwards. It was another situation like that, and we were walking, and all of a sudden the parachute just hit us. And the dog we were with was like, "I will never come back here again. This was the worst experience ever."
Was it his first time here?
Yeah.
Oh, look, a little mouse.
He did.
R.I.P. little mouse.
He's sleeping.
We met a field mouse once on our walk.
You never know what you'll see when you come here with little kids.
What's that girl doing?
She said, I'm doing push-ups. No, come.
There's really no strength, like the strength of a child.
Yeah.
They're like ungodly strong.
The
In the back.
across the way is pretty chilly, so
Kids.
Yeah.
just sitting there would have been.
Pug sighting. See a pug.
Did you say hog sighting?
Pug.
I thought she said hug.
Pug sighting, 1 o'clock. You don't see many pugs.
No.
I
You have
feel
a
like I
tutu
haven't
on?
seen pugs in a
It's a pug
while.
and a tutu.
You definitely don't see that every day.
Better.
Screaming at us a few weeks ago. He's like, y'all famous? and he wouldn't stop. He just kept saying, y'all famous?
TikTok thinks so.
Yeah. I'd say so.
I know us.
Yeah.
You're those people.
Yeah. Oh, they're miracle canines.
If only there was something that signified what we were.
How would they know?
I know.
How would they know?
So, to answer that kid's question, yes, we're
yes,
famous.
we are actually. The timing on that couldn't have been
I
more
know.
perfect. Gracie, how does it feel to walk around with celebrities?
Crickets.
She knocked us down a bit. We needed that.
I always like when we walk dogs on like big groups,
Yes.
because everyone's like, who's that?
Got the squad.
We're Miracle Canine Training. We train dogs.
Not too many people out.
Yeah, for
I
real.
feel like one of
Hold on.
those that are on late night TV where
Yeah,
it's really
like the Chuck
creepy and
Testa
weird. Yeah.
commercial.
Oh,
I
yes.
showed that to all of you guys.
Yes, I love
Is
that.
that real? Nope. Just Chuck Testa.
Oh my gosh, there's a bear in my bed. Nope, just Chuck Testa.
I remember when you showed me that.
Or the foot massage and barbecue one. No, come.
Joe's barbecue foot massage. That used to be my favorite. What was that, Vine?
Yes.
I think that was in Ohio.
Joe's
yeah.
barbecue foot massage.
We could do like a dog barking, but it'd be like us voice, like a voiceover of like bark. And it'd be like, don't you want the barking to stop? Like have like Bridget in one of the kennels and stuff, and, like jumping on the wall.
I can actually fit in a kennel.
Yeah, there you go. It's Sunny in the crate.
Remember when Matt did a April Fool's prank hiding in a crate?
Oh, yeah.
And he scared you?
Yes.
Yeah, I still think about that.
Every day you come into work and you're like, do they hate me? I still don't know. And you'll never know. Shane,
I know.
honestly.
I'm like ready to fight or flight every time when I walk
You'll
in.
never know. Interact with me. Would I be naked?
Yep. Everyone rides that perfect line of like, you can't be too nice, but you can't be too mean. Just gotta always keep them guessing. Uh-huh.
Ooh, the sun's coming out.
Right.
Bridget was doing a lesson today. And I was cosplaying the crazy lady in the park who wants to go over the dog.
It's always fun.
I wanted to punch myself in the face. I was being, but at one point I picked up Sunday and I was like running behind with the dog
Oh
in
my
my arms.
gosh.
And then I like
Did you come up here to do it?
No, we were just
At the facility?
Yeah, the facility. And I literally like held Sunday down to sniff the dog's butt from behind. As
Oh
we were,
my
like,
gosh.
running. I was like, my dog just wants to sniff me.
Hey, it's
The
good to
dog
be
will
both
freak out.
extremes because you'll never know.
Never know.
Yeah.
Just gotta prepare for the unexpected.
If someone ever did that to me, I'd honestly turn around and just start barking at them.
I don't know
I feel like
why.
that would deter mostly anyone. Maybe that's what we should just start telling people to do is like,
Just bark it.
yeah, you start the barking so your dog doesn't have to. What?
You give it that.
Yeah, well, next time someone comes up, I'll just start barking at them. All I'm saying is I got a pretty good dog bark. Yeah, I'm working on it. Honestly, yeah, uh-huh,
No.
oh, for sure.
If you ride a bike in the trail, please announce what side you're coming on because
Ring a bell.
something. Because I don't want to get ran over by a bike. Neither does Bandit.
Especially when you're coming in hot.
Someone did that to us the other day on an electric bike.
You get caught
No.
up all in the spokes and stuff, and then you go take a tumble, the dog takes a tumble. Just you're down on the ground, I'm just still barking at you. Yeah. How's it going?
Good.
Good?
Yep.
So I know we definitely want to do a social, so we're gonna hop right into that, do that first.
Okay.
And then we can kind of go from whatever we else want to go over, if we want to go over some more commands or grooming or whatever. But how have things been going this last week? Good?
Yep.
No issues or anything?
No issues.
Okay.
I can think of.
Good.
It's been pretty good the last several weeks. So.
Perfect, cool. So yeah, we're gonna, like I said, we'll start with the social, kind of see how that goes. I want to give him like plenty of time to do so too, because I obviously want success within the social, but I also want to see where these kind of like triggers are coming from. If it is something with the neighbor's dog, like where he's like either just getting annoyed with certain dogs or kind of where that like fence fighting, what's kind of like starting all that stuff. So just to get kind of a feel for it. We are gonna film the social too, so it'll be like on our vlog and stuff like that. But so why don't we do this? Go ahead and muzzle him for me. And we'll start with him on muzzle, just in case, and then we can pop it off after a minute or so. In the socials, if you're ever doing it with Gypsy, right, the neighbor? It's the three biggest points of resource guarding are you as the affection, right? If you and your neighbor are both kind of interfering or interacting with the dogs during their time of socializing,
Right.
it can be something that could trigger him as if you're playing with Gypsy, if you're playing fetch or something, right? Or even just petting her down by the side, he could see that as her taking the affection away from him, right?
Right.
Your affection goes to her instead of him. That's one of the most dangerous too, because you're putting yourself in the middle of those situations. So always try to kind of avoid the dogs. The point of the social is to let them hang out with themselves. And then the other things are the more common ones, toys and food, right? So no treats or anything that you're giving out. Sometimes people want to be like, all right, here you go, you did a good job, so here's a bunch of treats. That can set a dog off, as well as playing fetch, right? If you're playing with a frisbee or a tennis ball or something, it's usually one object that now both dogs have to go and chase and fight over, right? So you're making it an object to kind of fight over. So food, toys, and affection, all three I kind of want to avoid. So that's exactly what today's going to look like too. It's going to be something where when we go in, we're just going to let them do them, and we're just going to stand there. We're kind of just like fly on the wall, just making sure nothing goes on, right? So I will take the remote from you, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this up on high. I'm going to have this all the way up because it's something where, especially once we take the muzzle off, it's going to be something where I'm going to let the, right now the point of the socialization isn't to tire him out, isn't to get his energy out. I mean, that will happen, but the point of doing this today is more to see and make sure that he knows the interactions, what's appropriate, what's inappropriate when interacting with other dogs, right? So if I got a lot of super high energy dogs in here, some puppies and everything, those are going to be the ones that are going to kind of like push him and annoy him and stuff. If he's annoyed and he's like, hey, back off, he's totally fine with giving that correction, right? It's if he goes more extreme with it, if he kind of like commits to going after the dog after the fact of giving that correction, right? That is when I'm going to hit him on that high and give him that really big correction to let him know like that is absolutely not acceptable, right? And then we can kind of go from there.
I'm worried because, and whatever, it's not the end of the world, but I'm just worried because he really can't see out of this eye.
Yep, and that's what I mean.
I'm worried he's gonna be more defensive. You know?
Yep, and
whatever it is,
and that's for those first couple seconds. Now again, because he doesn't really get corrected on high, I'm telling you, he's gonna feel it if it is, right? So it's something that, yeah, it's more for that initial safety. I want that on there. I completely agree. It's definitely just kind of like blocking his vision a little bit. But it's something that with this little neutral area, it's good for us to be able to kind of walk him in. All the other dogs can come up, sniff him, he can kind of sniff them, and then we'll let him do something, right? So what I'll do is I'm gonna bring him in first, and then I'm gonna let you kind of just hang out here for a second on the other side of this fence, and then once he's good, then we'll kind of bring him through. That is probably more of that spook, like what the heck, you know? Again, fine, that's totally acceptable. It's the committed and everything after that. And this shows me he can at least see somewhat because he's following them. Now I can see, I don't know if you can, but I can see some snarling from him and stuff with the muzzle. So I want to keep that on just a little bit more, and I want to see if there's a little bit more of that explosion. No. More than just a nip right there, right? It was more of that like kind of committed, right? So, and again, yep, snarling, again, all that stuff is fine, right? Do what it would. I get you, right, I get you feel uncomfortable, but it's something that it's like, I would rather address the issue with this stuff on, with the muzzle on still, obviously, right? Now, this is that kind of like comfort, right? That resource guard, right? And it's one thing to feel that comfort. I kind of want to see. I want to see for a second and just kind of see. I'm okay with a little messing like that with like what he's doing, that it will just help with him desensitizing to the muzzle. If it's something where he's like really, really committed to it though, I will give a correction. Like I said, I want to spend a good amount of time doing this today, so I want to leave the muzzle on for a good bit, and then we can see if we can take it off, but nothing I'm going to like rush into necessarily. Does he ever have this kind of behavior without the muzzle, with Gypsy or something? No, okay. Yeah, now you can see he's starting to move around a little bit more. He's starting to sniff and stuff. That's a really good sign. I want to see just little by little he's starting to kind of like bubble out, right? When you get a more anxious dog or something, initially it is very common for them to like scatter to find mom or dad and hang by them and do this little thing. But now you can see there's kind of that bubble out, goes, gets a little interested, then comes back, right? Now, little by little, I want to see him kind of like leave your side.
I remember they had a video camera so you could see him, and I watched him, and he would play just for a little bit, and then every time I looked at it, he was sitting against the wall.
Yeah.
Like, and I remember thinking then, like, we need to socialize him more or whatever, because maybe that's just his personality.
And
he's going to be more anxious like that.
Right.
He would play, you'd see him play occasionally, but his spot was,
Yep.
if I'm not comfortable, I'm going to go sit against the wall.
And that's totally fine, right? And that's, I don't consider that more of a non-social dog thing, right? I think if anything that makes him more conscious of, okay, something might be overwhelming. Maybe there's a dog that I'm playing with that I was cool with playing rough for a minute, but he just like keeps going and like I can't keep up, so I'm gonna go and remove myself, right, from that situation or whatever, right? So he's choosing to kind of take that second to kind of take that breather or whatever. That's totally fine. What I kind of consider a social dog is one that can give an appropriate correction and can take an appropriate correction, right? So it's something that if a dog is kind of bothering him, playing too rough, whatever, to give that one little quick nip or whatever is totally fine. That is good to not go overboard with it. On the other hand, if Ushi is the one that's kind of bothering him and he gives that nip, it is for her to be able to respond and be like, oh, okay, my bad, you know, and leave that, right? As opposed to keep hounding that dog and harassing and pushing them past that limit, you know? So it's something that, yeah, in that situation, you know, if he playing, that's fine, and then he's like, okay, that was good, now I'm gonna go and chill in the corner on the wall or something, that's totally appropriate for him. A social dog always doesn't mean this kind of stuff, right? It just means that they can socially get along with whoever.
Are these dogs all in training too, or are they?
Now, I didn't correct for that because that was quick enough, and it was something where it was like, he kind of was like, okay, you know? He kind of caught himself, and it wasn't over the top. It was more than just a nip, and the reason I want to keep this on is it just gives us a little bit more freedom and a little bit more of like, less like trigger happy, you know, where it's like, if that muzzle's off, we're all gonna be a little bit more on edge with it, right? Exactly, right. And vice versa. We don't want, you know, sometimes in a pinch, you know, he could be the friendliest dog, but if he starts getting attacked, he's gonna defend himself, right? So it's gonna be something where I also as well don't want him to get hurt. If he picks a fight with Dill, like that big dog, like, wouldn't be a fight he would probably win. Right. So now this, I would say, if Sturgill's more like planted on you, to kind of move a little bit more. Because with the muzzle on, you can kind of like let those signs kind of come out again. Address the issue if it's going to present itself, kind of thing. This we can be a little bit more like, okay, if we can avoid it, you know. Yep. And it's good if he is more like social and stuff, or like open, moving around like this with the muzzle off. But it's going to be something that I would probably recommend having that muzzle on, at least for that first introduction, for every time you meet a new dog. So that's why I wanted it on for so long. Yep. Obviously, him and Gypsy are a completely different kind of situation because he socializes with her more often than most dogs. But it would be something like any family friends or dogs or whatever, you know, I would at least start on muzzle just for that first situation, you know.
So neighbors of ours, good friends of ours, have 2 dogs.
Okay.
And they have offered me many times, like, why don't you take them over and socialize and everything? So I think I should do that, but muzzling.
Yeah.
He's met them before, but never really had to play, like, let them off leash and play.
Are the dogs more kind of like this temperament or more of like the puppies kind of stuff?
One of them's kind of a little bit puppyish, I would say.
Okay.
He's a bigger dog.
So just be aware of that, right? And that's why I kind of got like a bunch of different kinds of dogs with like different temperaments and stuff, so that you can kind of see how those interactions are with him, right? How he takes it. Obviously, a more mild dog, he's going to be more mild with. someone who's up in his face and nipping at him and doing all that stuff, trying to mount him, he's obviously going to be a little bit more sensitive about, you know. I feel like even just since we've been doing these last couple follow-ups that things have been less tense, hopefully, you know. It seems like that we're coming with a game plan at least.
I was just telling someone at work that it's not like this was like groundbreaking, like, oh my God, I hadn't thought of this. It was more a refresher for us, and we were using the clicker, but I think honestly we need to do a better job of being more intentional with taking them on walks intentionally, even though maybe it's not needed, but it is for him, for training purposes, right?
Right.
And doing things like that, my wife, I swear, I put the collar, she would get on me like, you need to put the collar on. So every morning, like religiously, but then I come home and the clicker is just on the counter all day long. And I'm like, well, you need to keep it on you.
Right.
Not literally every second, but have it near you. If you're in this room, keep it in the room so you can. So anyway,
yeah, just consistency is key. That's what we say, you know.
For him and for us.
Yeah.
Like we had the 4th of July, and there was one minor. I mean, it wasn't a major. It was more of just a growl. I think about that.
Yep.
Which, at the end of the day, if that's all it is okay, I guess. But
right. Yep.
So I don't know if it's. I think it is related, but he has been since in the last month since we started seeing you and kind of doing this refresher stuff. He seemed to calm down a little bit more.
And yeah, and I think it's just because there's checks and balances. You know, there's things that there's that.
And as long as like whatever.
Yep, exactly. And it's something that, again, consistency is key. So it's something that, yeah, you guys knew everything you needed to know, but it's just a matter of just me coming in there and pointing stuff out, helping with the muzzle. I think that had, again, took a lot of that intensity away of like, well, you know, if you can't address it because he doesn't have the muzzle on or whatever, and he's going to bite someone, if I'm like trying to come up to you and see if he's resource guarding, of course we're not going to do that. But if we can do the muzzle, then it's something, okay, now we can let the situation kind of happen and correct for it, address it, instead of like putting a Band-Aid over it and just always having him in a different room every time someone comes over. Now you put the muzzle on and he can be there right with you, and he kind of starts to desensitize and realize, okay, so this reaction that I'm having to random people or people that I even know is inappropriate, right? I think even this, like, just kind of that check of just like, all right, you can give those little things. Just don't be a jerk and explode, you know, like, and that's what I want them to know. I don't want to shut them down necessarily because he gets nervous and this puppy's kind of like jumping all over him and doing it. Because a lot of people would see that and be like, oh my gosh, he's trying to start a fight or something, like we have to stop it. That's exactly where I'm like, no, let him keep going. Let him get that really big correction and realize real quick that that was inappropriate, but then allow him to still continue and realize that it's also not the end of the world either, right? You can do that and still survive and still interact with other dogs and still open up. It might take a little bit, but at least you know, don't do that again, right? But if it's something where you are getting nervous, walk away, try something else, right? Trial and error for him. And this is where we just need to be really, really on top of him, making sure that he's not doing these little inappropriate behaviors. Just the time remaining, you know, I want to just do like a little bit more of that grooming as well and just kind of go over that, because just with him getting ready for the groom and stuff, I want to make sure that
that'd be good.
We're good with all that. All right, so we'll do these nails a little bit. So when I'm first just kind of like reevaluating, because it's been a while, at least obviously since I did his nails, I like to just kind of like desensitize him to the actual feeling of it, because more times than not, what really freaks the dogs out is more the noise of the Dremel than the actual feeling of it, especially when it's kind of combined. So kind of like this stuff, right? How he's kind of like doing this little tug and everything. This isn't going to be a fight for me where we're going back and forth playing this tug of war. It is something where I'm simply just going to hold. It's very similar to like leash pressure kind of stuff. He is the one creating tension, not me. I am holding this. I'm trying to be relaxed. I will actually let him be a little bit more comfortable too by bringing it into him. But if he starts doing this jerking stuff and tries to walk away and do all this stuff, I'm just holding it, right? If he calms down and he comes back to me, he takes that tension out. He realizes, oh, this is where I want to be. This is the most comfortable spot, actually. Pulling away and trying to get away is much more uncomfortable than actually just letting me do what I want to do, right? Now, if he starts getting like really floppy, like a out of water fish or something, I want to try to maintain as much control with this as possible. I don't want to let him get away with like these small little wins, right? Because progressively, what the dogs will do is they kind of like play all the cards in their hand. First, they don't want to waste all their energy right from the get-go. So they'll start with this little like pulling, right? And then they'll start kind of like laying down or rolling over or something. Then it'll get to like the full-on flailing or nipping and stuff like that, right? So it like progressive more and more, it gets more and more intense as you try to do it. Once you let them kind of play all their cards out, they're finally like, all right, just do it, you know? Like, now, do I want them to get to that point? No, but it's something that if it does get to that point, that's what happens. It's, again, just being consistent and kind of just seeing it through, letting him realize, okay, do what you want to do, but we are going to finish this, right? It's going to happen. It's just a matter of like, how fast will you let me get it done? Because if you just chill for a minute, we can be done so much faster than if you're fighting. All right. So once I kind of...
a little bit better with, I try and wipe down his paws sometimes when it's muddy out or whatever, you know, when we let him back in the house. He's gotten a little bit better with that now.
Yeah.
Still kind of fights the back legs a little bit.
Okay.
But the front legs, he wouldn't even let me just, all right, I know you gotta wipe them down.
Yep.
But that's something I should even just practice, right?
Yeah. I mean.
It's not necessary because it's not that often that we have to do that. It's good.
Yep. And this is something I'm just gonna like kind of round him up and just hit him real quick, but just to kind of show you. But yeah, it's just like, I mean, move the hair away, whatever. You don't want to get caught, but. And if you're using treats or something, you know, if he ever does start kind of pulling as I'm doing this, I will let him kind of like settle down, right? Once he does, then I'll go back to it. But I always want to try to do it. Obviously, I'm not going to do it as he's freaking out. I want to let him freak out and be like, okay, you done? All right, now we're going to go again, right? Again, letting him realize that those freakouts have absolutely no effect, right? It is just prolonging the inevitable. Even when I'm done with the foot, I want to be the one, again, that lets go. So wait for no pulling, and then I can let go, right? Good job, buddy. Good boy. Yeah. All right, so today we're on our way up to Home Depot to do a follow-up with a dog that I've been working with for a few months. It's a big hurdle today to kind of go over things. We've really been kind of doing this exposure on walking outside and up at Edgewater. But today with Home Depot, what I really like about it is it gets those closer quarter encounters. So because it's a big hurdle, it's understandable for, you know, especially if you've had situations in the past to be kind of nervous about it and stuff. So today is all about, obviously, one, kind of going through and making sure that the dog is ready for this and getting that good walking in. But also, it's really good for the owner to kind of have that confidence back as well, to get to a point where we can kind of see that progress coming to light and boost their confidence up as well. So today we're going to see a few little clips of that and kind of show you what that looks like.
he's still as nervous as he was when he was lunching, except now he's changed that idea to, okay, this is much better. Make them be wow. So keep walking. One more aisle, this aisle, this is about how to turn around. Thanks. And Casey, just...
For a couple of days it was hot. Then it got cold. Okay.
Perfect. All right, you can walk back up.
So we did a session today with Luca, and he came to training because he had some reactivity issues, and unfortunately it had kind of spiraled because he's just a big guy. So we went through the training, and we've been working with him for a little bit now, and things have been progressively getting better and better. And we've been taking him up to Edgewater recently and kind of working on more of exposure kind of outside. But today we tackled a really big hurdle by going to Home Depot. And because of his reactivity, rightfully so, the owners were a little nervous, a little on edge. And so it was something that not only so big for Luca to kind of work through that exposure and kind of control that anxiety and that reactivity, but it was also really big for the owner's confidence boost to be able to see him succeed in that situation, as well as see that she can kind of succeed in that situation. So from the little clips that will kind of see, it's something that I started walking with him to kind of show that continuing kind of get him set, and then about halfway through, she felt that confidence kind of rising up, and she went and walked through Home Depot as well. And I'm just very proud of him, very proud of the owners to be able to kind of push through that nervousness for both of them, and be able to come out on top and show that through this training, through the consistency, we've been able to achieve a goal that I don't think the owner ever thought she would be able to do. So very proud of both of them today. It was a really, really good session, working on that reactivity, working on that impulse control, working on that heel command. We even worked a few down stays as well around some of the distractions that made him a little bit more nervous, and he aced it. So very proud of him.